Anyway, he's live now. Let's take a look at what he has to say. Dumbass.
Excuses. And you set records, and we can't let the next administration even think about taking it down, if you can believe that. I don't think that will happen. I think when you see what it does and how it's so important for our country, nobody's going to be touching it, and you are very proud of it, and you're proud of the work you did, because we really designed it together. We're joined together to celebrate a great achievement, the extraordinarily successful building of the wall on the southern border. Before we begin, I'd like to say that free speech is under assault like never before. The 25th Amendment is of zero risk to me, but will come back to haunt Joe Biden and the Biden administration. As the expression goes, be careful what you wish for. The impeachment hoax is a continuation of the greatest and most vicious witch hunt in the history of our country, and is causing tremendous anger and division and pain, far greater than most people will ever understand, which is very dangerous for the USA, especially at this very tender time. And now I'd like to briefly address the events of last week. Millions of our citizens watched on Wednesday as a mob stormed the Capitol and trashed the halls of government. As I have consistently said throughout my administration, we believe in respecting America's history and traditions, not tearing them down. We believe in the rule of law, not in violence or rioting. Because of the pandemic, horrible, horrible, invisible enemy, and despite our tremendous success developing a vaccine years before it was thought even remotely possible. Nobody thought it was going to be possible. They said it would take 5 years. Sir, it will take 7 years. All of our scientists were saying, our advisors, it will take 7 years, 5 years, 10 years maybe. Well, we did it just like I said we would, and we had it out years and years before they thought it was possible. And we're now delivering it to states, including your state, where your governor and government are doing a terrific job in getting it administered in Texas. And Florida's doing great. Some of them are doing great. Some aren't doing as well, but they have all they can handle, and we get it to them as fast as they need it, and even faster. But they're calling it a medical miracle, and this has been a difficult year and a very difficult election. The pandemic has made it a very, very difficult year for our country and virtually every country all over the world. Now is the time for our nation to heal, and it's time for peace and for calm, respect for law enforcement and the great people within law enforcement, so many are here, is the foundation of the MAGA agenda. And we're a nation of law, and we're a nation of order. That is why we're here today, to talk about what we must do to uphold the rule of law in America and how we must continue to support our law enforcement heroes, which is exactly what you are. Do you feel like a hero? Yeah, I think you do, right?
You're a hero. Do you feel like a hero? Believe me, you are.
I want to thank Customs and Border Patrol Commissioner Mark Morgan, who's been incredible. Where's Mark? Mark, stand up, Mark. Great job. Fantastic. Chief Patrol Agent Brian Hastings. Brian, thank you very much. Great job. He's so happy with it. He said, sir, this really works. And most importantly, the brave law enforcement officers who risk their lives every day to protect our families and our country. I also want to thank a tremendous gentleman, a friend of mine, Tom Holman. He's a great American patriot, and he was with us right from the beginning, right, Tom? You knew exactly. He said, we need a wall. When they were saying, no, we need drones, we need drones. I said, why? So you can watch the people pour into our country illegally? And I want to thank you very much, Tom. What a professional job you've done. All of you people, incredible. Everyone here today is part of an incredible success story. This is a real success story. When I took office, we inherited a broken, dysfunctional, and open border.
If this is a real witch hunt, why don't we try the swim test, Cap?
What? What just happened?
Coronas.
No, that's the FBI's live stream. We're going to return to that for now, but
the cartels, the coyotes, and the special interests, and we restored the rule of law. For years,
Why is the White House not
ran for
live?
office promising to secure the border only to get elected and to do the absolute exact opposite. They even promised a wall, if you remember. About 10 years ago, they promised a wall, but they couldn't get it built. It wasn't easy getting it built.
Dude, what in the fuck is happening, dude? What is happening? Yo, Tamaces, you got another link? What the fuck is going on? Dude is literally not talking about the Capitol. I mean,
the significance of this investigation is not lost on us. This is a 24/7
promising to secure the border only to get elected.
Absolute insanity.
And to do the absolute exact opposite. They even promised a wall, if you remember. About 10 years ago, they promised a wall, but they couldn't get it built. It wasn't easy getting it built. Getting it financed was tough. Getting it built was even tougher. All the different chains of title and all the different things we had to go through. Very, very complex and very difficult, but we got it done. But they had it years ago. You remember that better than anybody, right? And they never got it done. They never, ever completed the task. And then ultimately the money was sent back to the federal government. Spent, but no wall was built. But unlike those who came before me, I kept my promises. And today we celebrate an extraordinary milestone, the completion of the promised 450 miles of border wall. 450 miles. Nobody realizes how big that is. I remember when I first came down about a year and a half ago, we're under construction, and I started walking. And I'm looking at the wall, and I'm walking and walking. And I'm used to like a development project where you could walk a wall. You know, 10 acres, 5 acres, 2 acres, 1 acre. Then I realized that's a long time. That's a big walk. A lot of it, a lot of the wall you have is incredibly natural. You have the mountains, you have the rivers, you have some very powerful water areas, you have some areas that are virtually impossible to get by. So we didn't need walls everywhere, but where we needed them, because it's been so.
Guys, if you're an out of shape 77-year-old who's like, you know, morbidly obese and then yes, walking the border wall is difficult.
Where it was such trouble, and now we have it. It's either in construction or pre-construction, an additional 300 miles. In every region that we've built the wall, illegal crossings and drug smuggling have plummeted, absolutely plummeted. In the Rio,
drug smuggling, 95% of it happens at regular ports of entry, like ports and whatnot. 95% of drug trafficking occurs in regular points of entry, not the fucking border wall. The border wall does not stop it. It's a lie.
Deadly narcotics saving thousands and thousands of lives. We've arrested nearly 500,000 illegal aliens with criminal records, some with very serious criminal records of the type you don't want to know about, like murder. We removed nearly 20,000 gang members from the United States.
Also, he literally didn't build a fucking border wall. That was another ironic thing. Like, the only thing he did is, like, beef up the wall in areas that the wall existed. A lot of parts of the fucking border wall are already in, like, as he mentioned, natural areas that are impenetrable for the most part. So he didn't really do anything. It was just a waste of fucking funds, regardless. And it was never supposed to be. Like, literally, they didn't need to build a single fucking second of a wall. They didn't need to build a fucking single mile of a wall. It was just about the racism. The wall was never supposed to prevent anything from happening. Okay? It's literally just about the racism. Okay? It's just to say, we're building a wall because those immigrants are coming into the country. That's what it's always been about, and that's what it will always be about. So, like, if this was the only piece of the border wall that they built, it still wouldn't change a thing in the minds of, you know, people living in fucking Nebraska, brother. Like, that's it. It's just a waste of U.S. resources. But the big reason why it's a problem is because, one, it's a waste of U.S. resources, and two, it's just like emboldening racist pieces of shit instead of addressing the actual problem. Like, immigrants coming into this country haven't been a problem, will never be a problem. Undocumented immigrants coming into this country are not a problem.
4 months
like,
today.
The overwhelming majority of them do not commit any crimes whatsoever, with the exception of, like, crossing an imaginary fucking boundary. And not only that, but undocumented immigrants actually, per capita, are responsible for less convictions and less crimes committed overall. There are not a lot of studies conducted on this, unfortunately, but the ones that have been conducted, especially in places like Texas, for example, by the Cato Libertarian Institute, and I will admit that the Cato Institute is super far right, but they are for open borders. But numerous studies that have been conducted show that undocumented immigrants cause less crime overall per capita than natural-born U.S. citizens. There's numerous reasons for it, but it doesn't matter. It's just like that's the reality.
He is a
Man
who really knows what's happening, and he loves his country, and he also loves the United States. But I want to thank for his friendship and his professional working relationship. We actually had 27,000 Mexican soldiers guarding our borders over the last 2 years. Nobody thought that was possible. And they made it very, very difficult, and that's why the numbers were able to plunge even during the construction of the wall.
Basically the singer from the
And by the way,
Catalina
one of the big elements of the wall that make it so successful is we can have far fewer people working now. They can be working on other things related to crime and drug prevention, and a lot of other elements they're working on, because we save massive numbers of people. And included here, we have the most sophisticated camera systems and most sophisticated electronic systems anywhere in the world.
Today.
We implemented 3 historic agreements with the Northern Triangle. That's Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, under these critical asylum cooperation agreements.
Yeah, it's not the border wall. This is the actual agreement that cuts back on immigration in a really fucking devastating way, too.
To a neighboring country instead of into a U.S.
The First Nations clause that we have literally bullied other countries, smaller countries, into signing by saying that we are going to hit them with crippling tariffs and sanctions if they don't follow through, is actually the real thing that curbs back immigration.
They may be some really vicious people. The countries didn't want them back. And I stopped all payments to those countries. I stopped everything going to those countries. And after it was stopped for about a month, you remember? After it was stopped for about a month.
Remember, we claim we do not have the funds or resources to take care of immigrants coming into this country, which is a fucking lie, okay? Literally, immigrants are better for the economy. Like, immigrants are straight the fuck up, better for the American economy. More people means we need more jobs, more roads, more food, more fucking housing. Again, more jobs. So there is no labor pool that is finite. It's virtually infinite, okay? When there's more people, there's more jobs. That's how this works. So it's a complete fucking lie told by Republicans that was disproven as an economic theory in literally the fucking 19th century, okay? So, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, though. It's a lie they'll keep telling. Regardless, not only do we have the resources to take care of these people because they take care of themselves, but also on top of that, so we don't have the resources of the wealthiest nation on earth, but fucking Mexico does. Like the First Nation immigration agenda that we put together basically says, while us, the wealthiest nation on earth, can't take care of immigrants, so Mexico, a country that we can literally threaten by cutting off economic aid, a country that is not as wealthy as the United States of America at all, they'll be able to take care of it. They'll be able to take care of the fucking problem. It's bullshit. Every other sentence you say when discussing conservatives is, that's a lie.
Without this core principle,
I don't know what else to do. I mean, it's just like there's so many lies revolving around this
my
conversation.
Also instituted vital public health measures on the border. in response to the China
They do be
virus.
lying. What are you going to
Under
do?
Title 42 of the U.S. Code, illegal immigrants are being promptly removed to protect the health of border agents, other migrants and local communities, and the public at large. Removing these protections would invite a public health catastrophe of epic proportions, as you probably know, in Tijuana, various parts of Mexico. The COVID, it's got about 24 names. I can call it from COVID to China virus. I can call it the plague. I call it the China plague. A lot of different names, but we always call it.
Not to be super lib, but it's literally the Trump virus now. Like, China has it under control. Every country in the surrounding region has it under control. We don't have it under control. It's the America virus more than the China virus, okay? Maybe in the beginning you could have been like, China released this on the world and that's devastating. But like, considering the fact that we've been living with this for a fucking year now, and I even said this back then, but it doesn't matter. No one listens to me. But now, maybe after countries have successfully managed this, not just China, but all these other countries have successfully managed this, maybe now we can fucking admit that it's low-key kind of the fault of our administrators and their incompetence. And that's precisely the reason why, like, suspiciously, Brazil, the United States, and the UK are three countries that are devastated by this. I don't know.
Their oaths and sworn officers, they became sworn officers of the law, and they love their job. It's a tough job.
Asshole.
It's a nasty job.
Motherfucker, more like BLM protest virus? Really? Again, there were studies conducted on this that showed that because the Black Lives Matter protests were outdoors and with participated by those who were wearing masks, that they didn't have a significant contributor to COVID spikes. Again, doesn't matter. That's a lie, but it doesn't matter. You're going to lie anyway. Whereas like the fucking Sturgill motorcycle rally in South Dakota, that actually had that was a huge cluster. And the reason for why was because the motorcycle rally didn't just stay outdoors, but people went into bars and none of them were wearing masks and shit. Because when you have 5,000 people marching on the streets, it looks like there's a lot of people, but they're outdoors, or Sturgill, whatever, wherever the fuck it is. I don't know. Two Sturgills. When you have 5,000 people outdoors, it looks like it's a crazy amount of people, but they're outdoors and they're wearing masks, versus 500,000 people that go back to their regular order of business inside of buildings that aren't like HVAC approved for COVID, inside of businesses where they don't want to wear fucking masks and they think it's a goddamn political point to not wear a mask. Turns out 500,000 people doing that is infinitely more significant for a COVID cluster and a COVID spike than 5,000 people protesting in the streets where there's less foot traffic overall and the businesses are shuttered and closed down. So that's bullshit. You can cope all you want and say it's the BLM virus, but you're fucking coping. You're wrong. Also, literally, those BLM protests ended months ago, motherfucker. Months ago. And yet you're still trying to say like, oh yeah, it's recent. It's the spikes that are happening that literally correspond to Thanksgiving and Christmas holiday travel, where we have 4,000 people dying a day, and you're still like, well, remember when BLM protests happened back in July? Well, those people, they had a delayed reaction to COVID. It was incubating, brother. It was incubating for 6 months. Goddamn, bro. Cope. Next level. Cope-servative.
It would destroy millions and millions of jobs and claim thousands of innocent lives. The policies I put into place are uniformly and strongly supported by the men and women of ICE and Border Patrol. We worked on them together, just like we did on the wall. We worked on the policies together, because nobody knows this whole world better than the incredible people right in front of me. To terminate those policies is knowingly to put America in really serious danger and to override the great career experts that have worked
we should make
so
a
hard. Those
Haas
from
chud that's rigged.
At this very moment, smugglers and coyotes are preparing to surge the border if our policies are loosened or removed. I mean, they're literally waiting, big groups of people, some of them very unsavory, I might add. This is an entirely preventable tragedy. It's waiting to happen. The safety of our nation must come before politics. We have many disagreements in the country, but we should all agree the urgent need to secure our borders, protect our homeland, and allow law enforcement to fulfill its mission without political interference. ICE and Border Patrol agents swore a sacred oath to uphold the law, and no political appointee should ever order them to violate that oath. These are real experts. They really get it. And I'll tell you who else gets it. The Hispanic population of our country gets it. Because not only did I win Texas in historic numbers, but I won border towns, which are largely Hispanic. And people were amazed to see that. And the numbers, they say, were Governor of Texas called. Greg, great guy, great governor, called. He said, you had numbers that nobody's had since Reconstruction. Reconstruction means Civil War, and largely Hispanic. They understand it better than anybody, and they want law enforcement to help them live safe lives. The laws that Congress passed must be upheld. To the men and women of ICE, Customs, and Border Protection, and all across DHS, law enforcement in general, you have earned the everlasting gratitude of our nation. You have no idea how much.
This is nearly entirely the fault of the Democratic Party. It's, yes, it's gerrymandering, and yes, it's like voter suppression, which Texas is notorious for. But the other part of this equation is literally the Democratic Party, okay? With Beto, they organized well. They need to fucking copy that and paste it over and over again and do even more as the National Democratic Party. Texas has been the testing ground for many Republicans, for the Republican Party to figure out their Hispanic strategy, Hispanic voter outreach strategy. He's not wrong. 52% of CBP is literally Hispanic. 52% of Customs and Border Patrol officers are Hispanic. That's just the goddamn truth. Okay? Plenty of Hispanic people and plenty of Latino people in general are absolutely also fucking just as racist as the white dude is. Okay? And Hispanic and Latino people know this reality. They know they got people in their communities that are like this. The difference, though, especially with the Hispanic vote, is that, one, it's not monolithic. It's not like one fucking big brown vote that you can capture. There's plenty of differences in opinion. But if there is one area where most Hispanic population members that have been studied agree on, and it doesn't matter how fucking old they are, it doesn't matter how young they are, it's that they are on board with bigger government. They literally want more government spending. They literally want more social safety nets. They are on board with Medicare for all in incredible numbers. Most of the older, very conservative Hispanics, for example, that are Catholic and therefore like anti-abortion and shit, are literally also pro-Medicare for all, pro larger social safety nets. And even in the worst way to ask that question, which is, would you rather have a bigger government or a smaller government? They side with bigger government. Texas Republicans in charge of outreach for the Latino population there know this reality, which is why they never talk about that part of the equation and only beef up the Catholicism angle and only beef up the fucking social conservatism angle. Democrats, on the other hand, are like, well, these guys are socially conservative. But, you know, we just, I guess we just got to keep saying Donald Trump is racist and it'll work. No, motherfucker, you have to give him something. Politics is transactional. I've been saying this for fucking years. I'm going to keep repeating it over and over again until I die. But politics is transactional. You have to offer them something. And in order to win the Texas Hispanic population, or in order to win the Hispanic population in general, easy. Get on board with Medicare for all. Get on board with fucking more Social Security payments. Get on board with more government spending. That's how you captivate the Latino vote. There's a reason why Bernie Sanders was the most popular politician amongst the Latino population, and like literally had a shot at even winning the Democratic primaries as a consequence of that, because Latinos carried Bernie. Okay? Because they want the government to work for them.